You already know what it is. Great Men of God Media TV back with another reaction video. This just popped up on my timeline. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner explaining as to why hip hop is anti-black. I just want to hear his explanation to see if his shit is valid or not. So here we go.
Unfortunately, the success of hip hop is predicated upon being anti-black.
Explain. Expound.
When you listen to the hip hop that gets the exposure, right? Conscious hip hop isn't getting exposure. The messages in hip hop that get the exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people. Right? That's not all of the hip hop that exists.
Right, but that's what mainly.
That's what gets. Yeah, like you can't have a popular hip hop song without using the N-word
or calling women horrible names.
Yeah. It's like our black music has somehow become anti-black, and it's been so normalized that it gets right by us.
And it just did with me.
Yeah, the conditioning, the programming it's so powerful. Like in all of my poetry, I constantly talk about my love-hate relationship with hip hop. Right, but when those of us who are hip hop purists and we talk about how, you know, the younger generation, hip hop is trash, well, we're complicit in that because the younger generation grew up watching us and listening to us, listen to what we listen to. The content isn't different. The skill set may not be as great, right? The execution may not be as great as it was artistically, but the content really is the same. And most of that content to be black music, again, is really, a lot of it's anti-black.
Oof. Excellent.
Interesting perspective. I would say Malcolm Jamal Warner has some points, right? He does have some valid points, and I'm gonna break it down further as to why I disagree with his statement. All right, so start off. I'm a huge Cosby Show fan, and that's how I knew about Malcolm Jamal Warner, Bill Cosby, Felicia Rashad, all that good stuff, right? I believe, because I'm in my 40s, I believe Malcolm Jamal Warner is older than me. The point I'm trying to make, I think he's in his 50s, if I'm not mistaken. The point I'm trying to make is he grew up in the same era of hip hop as me. So that basically means his favorite artists or the artists he knew from the golden era of hip hop, like the Rakims, the KRS-Ones, the Run DMCs, the MC Shans, the Just Ices of the world, the NWAs, the Ice Cube, etc. Right? The golden era of hip hop in the 80s and the early 90s. I'm sure he grew up listening to those artists. And he mentioned, hip hop is mostly around misogyny, mayhem, the denigration of black society, using the era, etc. Right? Well, I mean, again, if you want to pigeonhole or say that, hip hop is being portrayed in that light because that's what the mainstream is pushing out in the open, I would say that's partially true and partially not true. You have a 50-50 shot in that. Yeah, I mean, for historically, you can say that, some big records push those particular narratives as being quote unquote anti-black in your opinion. But you got to go back into the progenitor, the foundation of where hip hop came from. Again, the artists I mentioned, right? Those artists, you know the discography, you know that. I didn't even mention Nas and Jay-Z. I'm talking about the 80s, the foundation of hip hop where it started. The Rakims, the LL Cool J's, the Run DMCs of the world, etc. Right? KRS-Ones of the world. Those were not only trendsetters, but those were change agents because their music, it struck a chord into not only hip hop, but the dominant society as well. It struck a chord. Yeah. When especially when you go back into uh, the 90s or the late 80s, early 90s, where NWA and go to the West Coast and quote unquote gangster rap became a thing, it became a trend. That's when you started to hear the messages of, that particular genre of hip hop was negative. You got people back in the day like C. Dolores Tucker, which was an arch nemesis for Tupac, for Two Live Crew, etc. back in the day because of explicit content, right? So any artist that used the N-word or used foul language, they were deemed explicit content and they were actually banned, just like Two Live Crew were banned for having their music played because of their explicit content, right? But at the same time, that's where the censorship and all that stuff came into play, where hip hop was trying to get a voice out there without being marginalized, right? And so now, fast forward until today's age, is different now. That people can do, especially in hip hop, people can do and say what they want. The framework is this. Yeah, you have certain artists or certain songs that get pushed in the mainstream right now, as opposed to other artists. But for the most part, it's not really about that because you still got considered today, even though he got destroyed, eviscerated by Kendrick Lamar. And right now, Kendrick Lamar is Not Like Us is still the top global song, or at least the top 3 song in the entire world, which is an anthem about being a anti-PDF file, right? That's what the song is about. And amongst other things. But I digress. Drake is still the most well-known artist in hip-hop. He is a pop artist. And so what Malcolm Jamal is saying, oh, yeah, well, the mainstream is pushing misogyny, mayhem, denigrating black society, etc. Drake is not known for that. He is a certified lover boy. The rest. He sings, he has melodic tunes, he has bops. He's not a gangster, he's not a tough guy. Everybody wants Drake with the melodies, not when he acts tough, right? And even when he tried to quote unquote act tough, it's forced, it's contrived, and from the words of Charlemagne the God, even your goons look non-threatening, right? They look like they do a flash mob at H&M. So he's a non-threatening light-skinned dude from Canada. So he doesn't perceive that threat, and he's the well-known, the most popular artist in the world. You even got guys like Travis Scott, who was just selling out across the globe and in Europe and Italy, stuff like that. He's not a gangster. He's not a guy that's perceived to cause mayhem other than him performing and doing great shows and live events, right? And things of that nature. So, I mean, I would say the most is the negative connotation you could say about Travis Scott is that drug use. You'll mention that, like Future as well. But other than that, I'm just naming a few artists off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm reacting to this in real time. But for the most part, these top artists that I mentioned that are popular based off streams, they're not known for what Malcolm Jamal Warner is talking about, right? Yeah, again, they got certain songs out there and certain artists that are going to promote anti-black, quote unquote, imagery from that perspective. But for the most part, that's not it. And hip hop is so diverse now. You just basically got to pick your genre. Pick your genre, your subgenre in hip hop, and stay there. But for the most part, again, Malcolm Jamal Warner grew up during the golden era of hip hop. So he should know these artists that he is fans of, that he grew up on, were deemed anti-black. They were deemed causing mayhem. They were deemed denigrating black society. That's what they were known for. But you grew up listening to them. So I see a little bit of hypocrisy regarding his comment, but I understand what he's saying as well at the same time. But for the most part, you know, like I said, you just got to pick your poison, man. Hip hop is such a diverse culture. You just got to pick your poison and kind of stay there, you know. But for, you know, if you're listening to mainstream artists as of today, you can say that. But guys like Nas, who are still, you know, putting out great product consistently. Rakim just released a new album, 7 songs. LL Cool J. I mean, these guys have been in the game for 40 plus years. Still putting out great content. So again, stick with your genre in hip hop and stay there. So that's my thoughts on that, family. Leave your comments. Let me know. Does Malcolm Jamal Warner have a point? Is hip hop now anti-black? Are they pushing out just the negative connotations of hip hop? You guys let me know in the comment section, family. Until next time, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace.